Alright, so when I last left you, we were in Nagoya at the Yamada Mochi shop, and right after that we were headed on our way out to Okayama. Now, I will wholeheartedly admit that going to Okayama with my friends and family was a selfish desire. I just wanted to show off where I used to live, and going to Okayama is never difficult. It's a Shinkansen stop or a bullet train stop, meaning that all the bullet trains stop there, whether they're the Hikari, the Kodama, or the Nozomi. It's a main stop. So getting there was really easy, and to keep that simpleness going, I just rented a hotel room at the Okayama Green Hotel, which is just right across the street. Super easy to get to. It's just a quick walk, and checking in and getting everything done was simple. Luckily, we were able to have a buddy of mine drive us around. Now, admittedly, Okayama is considered countryside in Japan, and it's considered a small town of only 700,000 people, even though I'm from a town that only had 70,000 people, which is crazy, before moving to San Francisco, which I think only has about 700,000 people, if I remember correctly. Having my friend drive us around was quite the convenience, not only because I was able to meet up with him and a couple other friends and go get a meal together, but because that Okayama is kind of a small town and that there's not much to do there, admittedly. He was able to bring us to one of my personal favorite shops. It is a secondhand store, kind of on the outskirts of the town or city. It has everything. As you walk in, you're greeted by a wall of these kind of gacha or coin-operated machines. And as you go into the store, there is a old school like candy shop available to you, and a place for used watches that you could purchase, as well as clothes. They also sell more things that were along my interests, like figurines and anime and manga, as well as they had all sorts of toys. There was a game center in there with my favorite type of games, which are the UFO catchers or claw machines. And I would say that overall, this place is amazing. They have pretty much everything you could possibly imagine used that you'd want to really buy. That was, I guess, small in nature. They didn't have furniture, but they did have music CDs and movies, like TV shows on DVD, as well as like not just anime is what I'm getting at. They also had a book section. They had a card games section, they had video games, and so the list just goes on and on. And it's one of those stores that, like, when you tell someone you're going to a secondhand store, they're kind of like, what's wrong with you? Particularly if you're from the US, because you're like, yeah, okay, it's not like the Salvation Army, it's not like any other secondhand store that we have over here. It's a legit store, and it's almost like walking through a warehouse. And the goods look like they were almost brand new in box, or perhaps brand new and just taken out of the box and put into like some sort of little bag and then priced. But some of the goods got really expensive. Most of the time they were worth the money that you were spending, though. They were very inexpensive, and it's a great place, particularly if you're like an anime or manga fan, to go get items along those lines, because they're inexpensive, and particularly if you're looking for something older, because anime travels in Japan is kind of how they put it. Like, the newest stuff's always in Tokyo, and it's hard to find older stuff. But when you go to somewhere like Okayama, they have some of those older things, which is kind of really neat. It is awesome that my friend brought us to this secondhand store, but I would say the more important part of what happened when meeting up with my buddy was the fact that he was able to call and set an appointment for us to go to a bicycle rental place. And the significance of this is that hindsight's always 20/20, and I was looking at it, I'm like, you know, going back now, maybe I should have just rented a car to get us around. Probably would have been easier and faster, and we might might have been able to see a little bit more of Okayama, but I really wanted everybody to experience what it was like when I was there and riding around a bike. So there was a problem. The bicycle rental place, I actually didn't know what was going into getting a bicycle, like the registration process or even the times of operation. What I found out was that, I actually have to go there early and get registration done, and there's actually a bunch of information that they're asking. And they actually opened up an hour after I kind of wanted to get my day started in Okayama to kind of show off the places. Now, what my buddy was able to do was he was able to call them and get the owner to come in an hour early so that we could get everything going, and that was super convenient. It just goes to show why I love Okayama in Japan, because he was just super nice, super friendly about it, and he rented us all the bikes we needed to get around. And after all that was said and done, the first thing I did was brought everybody to the school that I went to. I showed them the international dorms, I showed them the main parts of the campus that I would be studying at, the classrooms and whatnot, showed them the main clock tower in the library that's at most universities in Japan. And it was just really neat to be able to see everything again, particularly for me because everything was upgraded. A great example would be the club room or the clubhouse. That was upgraded greatly. I brought them there thinking that, the door when I was living in Okayama, the door to the clubhouse was broken, so you could just easily walk in and out. There was no lock, but they upgraded it to like this card key system. It was impressive. Everything had been upgraded. The school had a whole bunch of new buildings. They had new structures that I didn't know existed prior to going the second time, so it was really neat to be able to see the school again. Now, moving on from the school, we did two more things that I feel are necessary for you to do when you go to a place like Okayama. Actually, it's probably the two main points of going to Okayama, I would say. And it's kind of great because they're right next to each other and they have a single discounted ticket that will get you into both places. Now, the first of the two that I brought everybody to was a place called Koraku-en. And this is one of 3 most beautiful gardens in Japan. It's a top-rated place for you to go, and that you should try to go there if you're in the area. Now, Japan loves to do these big 3s. The most famous one, I think, is the 3 scenic areas of Japan, one being, I believe, in Sendai, one being in Hiroshima, and the other being, I believe, in Kyushu somewhere. I'll have to look it up. I'll leave it in the notes, the comments below. But that being said, so Okayama had Koraku-en. The other 2 are Kenroku-en and Kairaku-en, and that makes the 3 most beautiful gardens in Japan. Boy, is this garden great. It's a place that I used to go to all the time because when I was living in Japan, entry for me was free because all you had to do was flash a student ID and you're in the gardens. Now, again, they upgraded the gardens. There was so much more that they added to it. They still had the little hill in the middle that we would traverse, and they still had the pond with the island that you could go on to a bridge to get across. And they saw this little zoo area with the symbol of Japan. I believe it's a crane. And then they also had just these new added like areas and buildings that I don't remember ever seeing, and it was impressive. It was pretty awesome to see, and it was great to go around again. Very nostalgic and brought back a lot of memories. Now, as I was saying before, right next to the Koraku-en is the second place in Japan, or in Okayama, that you should be going to, and that is Okayama Castle. Now, admittedly, when I was living in Okayama, I never went to the castle. Like, I went to the castle grounds, but I never went inside. So this is actually my first trip inside the castle, which is awesome. And Okayama Castle has the nickname Ujojo, meaning Crow's Castle. The name comes from the walls of the castle being black. That's actually fairly unusual. If you look at castles like Himeji or even Nagoya or Osaka, they all have white walls. So this was actually a really cool thing about Okayama Castle. And as you went in, there was cool artifacts here and there, kind of like they had a life-size or the real actual fish, I think it is. It's like a golden fish, or perhaps it's a dragon, that they put out the edges of the rooftops. And they also had this really cool painted wall where they had these kind of boxes with holograms that would play a movie on these walls so that you could see kind of what it was like to live in Okayama back in the day. And as you got to the roof of the castle, it actually became kind of like, oh wow, you get some great views of the city. And one of the best things I would say about going to the roof and getting this great view would be the fact that you could go and see Koraku-en, which is right next door, like I said before, and it's like one of the best views of the park because you're just getting this great view from top, I guess. And it really made it kind of an interesting trip because I didn't ever see that before. So now, admittedly, this is kind of where Okayama ends. I know this is a kind of a short movie for this episode or whatnot. And it's just because, again, it was my selfish desire to show my friends and family a place that I loved, and I feel that it was just a quick glance. We only spent the night before and the following day there, and now we're off to Hiroshima. So I guess, yeah, I'll see you in the next episode in Hiroshima.